Well, winter season is here for the startup ecosystem, just the way Gaurav Munjal of Unacademy was talking about. Of course, we've seen a deluge of startup funding announcements as well. We're going to put the spotlight on one startup that did things really, really differently to pique interest of investors. I'm talking about the SaaS startup Shopflo that did this big bang marketing advertising initiative before it got its funding. Take a look.
The startup ecosystem in India is always brimming with big bang fundraising announcements. Ordinarily, they break the news either through press conferences or social media posts. But digest this. A Bengaluru-based SaaS startup, Shopflo, chose the most unorthodox route.
So here's the backstory of what happened. Last week, three co-founders took to the streets of Bangalore in search for investors with a placard that read, "Raising funds for Shopflo." Interesting, right? And just like that, within moments, they were the talk of the town on social media. Well, what's even more interesting is that they announced their funding the very next day. Tiger Global, TQ Ventures, Better Capital, and a clutch of other investors funded Shopflo for a total of $2.6 million as part of its seed funding. Well, with this, Shopflo becomes the only Indian startup at a pre-product stage that has received funding from Tiger Global. No mean feat. Well, my conversation, however, with these three gentlemen is not about their funding, but about the non-traditional route they've taken to get their company into the limelight and to be taking center stage. Thank you so much for joining us. Ankit, Ishan, Preet, truly a pleasure. I want to first deep dive into how did the idea get triggered with all of you, and what was your motive? Obviously funding was not the motive because you were obviously waiting for your announcement, but great publicity stunt.
Obviously, you know that funding announcements have become a daily activity. You guys cover that a lot. We wanted to differentiate because we want to attract the best people at Shopflo. But more importantly, at Shopflo, we are about speed. We are talking about making checkouts faster, a better experience, etc. And we wanted to showcase that even in our fundraise announcement. So we realized a good way to do it is to go to the streets, talk about us raising money, and the next day announce that we've raised.
Ishan, why don't you talk to me about three of you coming together? I believe your company was set up in 2021. So you all are products of COVID. How did you have the guts at such a young age to decide to start something like that?
So I say all three of us have had our own personal journeys about choosing when to kind of take the plunge. At least I think from my understanding, all of us had kind of decided through the start of 2021 that we wanted to do it. We just didn't know which idea or with which whom we'll really end up kind of really doing that. COVID really made us do a lot of our early discussions over Zoom. We used to just spend hours and hours talking to each other fairly remotely before we decided to take up an Airbnb together in Delhi.
I'm curious to understand from three of you how you see the D2C space actually evolving. How much real estate do I have on my phone to have, a multitude of apps to keep ordering it from different brands? I'd rather be with one aggregator because one or two apps I'll have because I don't have that kind of bandwidth. Do you see this as an issue as well?
You talked about the number of brands that exist today, right? And you limited the shelf space to your mobile phone. Earlier, this couldn't have happened because the shelf space was the store's shelf space or supermarkets. So it's already multiplied quite a bit, right? More importantly, now every consumer can see a different shelf, right? Earlier, everyone was seeing the same shelf when they went to the supermarket, but now you as a young woman can see something different from me as a young male, and someone with curly hair but probably can see a very different shelf. So what this means is that there's a multiplication of opportunity in terms of being able to target products for a specific use case, which wasn't possible earlier in the model where everyone was going to the same store buying the same things.
What do you do when you have to attract the attention of the investor?
Not many people would try to do something out of the ordinary. I've seen a lot of founders, and obviously we've gotten inspired as well over the way, where they've kind of really gone out of the way by making a lot of noise in the first place about either the product that they're doing or the customer love they're seeing. They've gone on Twitter, just putting their testimonials, the snapshot of the testimonials, etc., which has really helped a lot from a fundraise perspective.
Well, on that note, this has truly been a very refreshing conversation. Thank you so much, three of you. All the very best for your future endeavors and hoping to see more creativity come our way. Thanks so much.